Hello everyone and welcome to another review. Today we're going to go ahead and review a fragrance from the house of Avon. Avon, the fragrance is called Tomorrow for Men. Here's the bottle. Very simple bottle. There really isn't much to say. It's a glass bottle, has a plastic cap. A little bit cheap on this side, but hey, gets the job done, right? Other than that, presentation very simple. Like I said, you can actually purchase this retail very, very cheap. It may be discontinued now. I could be wrong on that, but still, you can find it around anywhere between $5 and like $15. I've seen it as low as $5. So again, a very cheap fragrance, but as you're going to find out, it's really actually a pretty good fragrance despite the fact that it doesn't cost much. All right, the fragrance was released in 2005. The notes of this fragrance, I'm not going to cut because there are three very simple notes. The notes are amber, coconut, and patchouli. I'm kind of pausing on that because despite the fact that they're very simple notes, I get something that's completely different. In fact, if you were to ask me on initial sniff what I thought this fragrance smelled like, I would have probably told you right off the bat that it had to have at least some star anise or some licorice in it, and I would have been wrong. I get a very heavy smell of licorice, and I get a coconut that's right beneath it. I do smell coconut in it, and I get that from it. Now, the patchouli kind of stays throughout the entire fragrance, but I really do get a heavy licorice smell that never really goes away. Now, that could be the combination and the mix of the coconut, amber, and patchouli mixed in together, and they're producing this effect. But either way, I really get licorice type of a smell from this fragrance. It's very sweet. It dries down to a bit of a masculine, almost musky type of fragrance that still retains its sweetness. So it still remains sweet. It still has that, muskiness, that sweetness to it. And I would definitely classify this as a gourmand. For those of you who love fragrances like Angelman, maybe Animal, Givenchy Pie, if you're looking at fragrances like that, this is definitely one that you want to either take a look at and maybe even purchase outright because it's a very cheap fragrance. I think another reviewer, I think it was Pete, who put me onto this fragrance, and I bought it, and I really have no regrets for the fragrance. The one thing that I will mention, though, is the fragrance doesn't last as long as I would like it to. On my skin, about 4 hours and it's gone. 4 hours and it's gone. In terms of season, fall, winter, those are the two main. It does get a little bit cloying once it starts getting a little bit warm out. In fact, as it is right now, it's almost a little bit too warm for me to wear this. Even in the colder spring months, you can probably wear this, but as it starts to get a little bit warm, it's probably going to get a little bit too cloying. But of course, if it works on your skin, by all means, go ahead, try it. I put about usually around, I want to say between 2 and 4 sprays generally. 4 is really on the higher end, really don't need that much. I've tried a little bit more just to try and get it to last a little bit longer, but the amount of sprays don't really affect on this one how long it lasts. It kind of lasts the same amount of time. This is a great date fragrance. It's a great night out fragrance. It's a great fragrance for going out on the town type of a thing. This is definitely one you want to look at for that. Now, this was one that I actually took around and had people sniff and smell as well. And out of 100 people, 77 of them liked this fragrance and thought that it was a good fragrance. 20 of them thought that it was bad, and 3 of them thought that it was so-so. So there weren't really that many ones who immediately would come out and say that it was so-so. I should mention, even people who don't like licorice, I don't like licorice, but I do like the smell of this. They actually thought that it smelled good too. This was a wildly popular fragrance that did very well in terms of people smelling it. Women, girls, men, you name it, people loved this fragrance. But again, it does suffer from performance issues, and even in terms of projecting a little bit, it doesn't really do that good, and it doesn't really last that long in my skin. Again, 4 hours for it. But for the price of $5 or however cheap you can get this fragrance, it's really not that bad of a fragrance. It's actually something that I actually would recommend for those people who don't have, as much money to spend on fragrances as possible. So this is definitely up there in that list. And goes to show you that you really don't have to spend a lot in order to get a nice smelling fragrance. So take a look at this fragrance. Don't be put off by the fact that it's so cheap. I do think it is worth a look at least for it. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free, let me know, send me a message, do whatever you gotta do. Thank you, take care of yourselves, and have a great day.